Just a few days remained before the holiday, and the city was already enveloped in a magical ambience. Beautifully decorated Christmas trees adorned every corner, garlands hung cheerfully, and glowing installations delighted passers-by. Shop windows and home facades shimmered with colorful lights, casting a spell that made everyone yearn to believe in fairy tales. As Dina walked home from work, she found herself captivated by this enchanting atmosphere. The streets were quiet, reflecting the late hour. Her surgical shift had been challenging, but the knowledge that it was her last workday was a comforting thought. Tomorrow would be filled with joyful preparations for the holidays. She needed to call her family and friends. Letting out a yawn, she stopped momentarily. Then suddenly, a sharp impact sent her tumbling into the nearest snowdrift. "I'm so sorry," a startled voice exclaimed. A young man reached down to help her up, grasping her arm. As Dina shook off the snow, a wave of pain radiated through her leg. Blinking at the fallen scooter and the young man holding it, she tried to piece together what had just happened. "I'm really sorry. Did I hurt you?" he asked, concern etching his features. "I'm fine, just trying to get across the street," Dina replied, indicating a tall building nearby with her mittened hand. "Should I take you to the emergency room?" he pressed. "No, that's not necessary. I'm a doctor, really. Just help me get to the entrance," she said, rubbing at the sore spot on her leg. "All right," he agreed, walking alongside her until they reached the door. "You can go now. I bet you were in such a rush to run into my mortal body," Dina joked with a smile, finally getting a good look at his bewildered, pale face, his striking blue eyes vividly standing out. "Maybe you could give me your number? I'd like to check on you tomorrow, just to make sure everything's okay." "I don't think that would be wise. My husband is quite jealous and my mother-in-law tends to be overly protective," Dina said, waving goodbye. "Take care and try not to run anyone over next time." With that, she stepped inside, the door slamming shut behind her. The young man lingered outside for a moment. Once home, she found the house in blissful silence. Dina crossed off the date on her calendar and headed to bed, where morning wouldn't arrive until lunchtime, leaving everyone else busy with their lives. "Ah, you're awake, Sleeping Beauty," Donald, her husband, said, placing a kiss on the top of her head. "How was your shift? Any tough cases? And what happened to your legs? Did you wrestle with a patient?" "Oh, if only. Then you wouldn't have to worry about them walking again," she replied with a chuckle. "I just had a little encounter with a scooter yesterday. The shift was pretty manageable, though. Thanks for the lovely lunch. Did Mom cook?" "Yes, right before you woke up," Donald said, wandering to the window with his tea mug. "Someone's been quite busy out there, splashing money around for flowers." Dina leaned out to look and spotted a message written in the snow near her entrance. "Get well," with a mitten doodled beside it. A mysterious grin spread across her face. "I wouldn't mind a little attention like that," she mused, turning to her husband. "Who would doubt it?" Her mother-in-law chimed in. "You're always daydreaming. You should have been a philosopher or a writer, not a surgeon." "Come on, Mom, she's an excellent surgeon," Donald defended Dana. "I'm just speaking the truth. She vanishes for days, and when children come along, you'll have to manage everything on your own. You'll see, you and your wife will have a challenge ahead. It doesn't bother you that I'm here, does it? I can leave so you can continue your discussion," Dina said before stepping out of the kitchen. After getting dressed, she decided to take a short stroll. Her mother-in-law's reproaches no longer affected her. She had learned to ignore the comments. Dina was putting away savings, dreaming of a place of her own, but Donald believed their current living situation with his mother was perfectly fine, dismissing the need for an apartment. Deep down, Dina suspected the real reason. Living with his mother allowed her to maintain control over every aspect of Dina's life. The weather was delightful. Sunlight made the snow glisten, and a gentle frost kissed her cheeks and nose. She glanced back at the message made of flower petals, then plucked a single rose and headed toward the park where she loved to walk. Her bruised leg throbbed as she settled onto a vacant bench, surveying her surroundings. That's when she noticed another rose lying beside her. "Good day. Since you, doctor, have ventured out, it seems I didn't cause any serious injury, just a minor bruise." A voice called from behind her. "Hello, public order violator. What are you doing here? Have you been keeping watch all morning?" she exclaimed, surprised to see him. "Using some simple deductions and calculations, I figured out how many hours you would need to recover after your shift. Turns out my estimate was spot on," he said with a playful wink, a satisfied grin on his face. "By the way, I didn't properly introduce myself. I'm Tom." "Dina," she replied curtly, studying him. "I'd like to make amends. How about we go to a cafe? I just ate, and I've already accepted your apology. You didn't create that sign, did you?" Dina smiled. "Let's say magical elves did it. Would you believe that?" "According to my mother-in-law, I'm a believer in all things magical. That's what fills my head," she quipped, imitating her mother-in-law Charlotte's tone. "Have you thought about inviting me for a cup of tea?" "Why not? But I have pressing matters to attend to at home today, so it can't be too long," Dina warned. "Lead the way to your delightful spot." They enjoyed each other's company, laughing and chatting. When Dina returned home, however, she was greeted by the stern gaze of her mother-in-law, arms crossed over her chest. Did something happen? Dina tensed, sensing the impending confrontation. "I want to ask you something," her mother-in-law replied coolly. "Donald will soon be back, and we need to have a serious talk." "About what?" Dina responded, puzzled as she removed her shoes and coat. "Your betrayal of my son. Were you out again with your boyfriend? I saw you return with another man," her mother-in-law accused, advancing on her like a foe. "What nonsense are you talking about? This guy ran into me with his scooter last night. Today, he simply came to apologize. Donald will understand if I explain everything, but you're just trying to create conflict between us." Before things could escalate, the doorbell rang, providing a pause in the argument. Sensing an opportunity, Dina slipped outside. Donald rushed after her. "You're not really going to leave me, are you?" he asked, concern etched on his face. "Your mother is more important than anyone else, but what about me? We need to move out, find a place to rent. Living with her is unbearable, and it's hard to even think about having children." Dina blurted out, frustration bubbling over. "She can't manage on her own," Donald replied defensively. "But I can, Donald. Someone has to make a decision." "Are you going to run off to your boyfriend? Dina, don't do anything reckless. And you? It's reckless to let your mother humiliate me. I've tolerated it because I respect people, but this is too much." With that, Dina turned and headed up to their apartment to start packing her things. Her mother-in-law stood in the kitchen, afraid to speak, as Donald pleaded with Dina to reconsider. Nearly dropping to his knees, her mother could no longer contain herself. "Dina, please forgive me. I went too far. Tom is the son of a friend of mine. She convinced me that if I didn't want to put up with you anymore, the best course of action was to break you and Donald up. I was pleased it worked, but my son loves you deeply." Dina looked at her mother, at a loss for words. "I'm sorry, but this is too much. You both need to sort this out. I'll take the rest of my things later." "I'll do everything in my power to separate you," her mother-in-law thought bitterly. Dina resolved to break free from the cycle of control and begin anew. Donald, on the other hand, could never forgive his mother for her actions. He avoided her, cutting off communication at every opportunity. Eventually, Charlotte could no longer bear the silence and decided to confront her son. "Donald, let's make peace. I know you're upset with me over Dina, but I only did this with your best interests at heart." "Best interests?" Donald replied coldly. "You destroyed my family and tarnished the one relationship I truly valued. Where's the best in that? But Dina, she wasn't a suitable wife for you. She barely knew how to run a household and was always at work. I just wanted you to have a better future, Charlotte stammered, guilt creeping into her voice. It's not your place to decide who's right for me. You meddled in my life, controlled my every move, and it ends now. I won't let you ruin my future anymore. Please, son, forgive me. Let's start over, his mother begged. But Donald was unyielding. He turned and left the room, slamming the door behind him. From that moment on, their relationship changed drastically. Donald treated her with coldness and distance, barely speaking a word. Charlotte never regained her son's trust after that. Meanwhile, Dina left Donald and decided to stay with her friend Sarah for a while. Approaching Sarah's apartment door, Dina's heart felt heavy. She was saddened by how her own family life had crumbled. Sarah welcomed her with an empathetic smile. Stepping into the warm, cozy entryway, Dina immediately felt the homely atmosphere she had been missing. In the corner of the living room stood a beautifully decorated Christmas tree, adorned with colorful ornaments that shimmered in the soft glow of the lights. Beneath it, carefully wrapped presents awaited. Photos of children, crafts, and drawings filled the shelves, creating a scene brimming with warmth and happiness. The atmosphere in Sarah's home stood in stark contrast to the cold, minimalist design of Dina and Donald's apartment, which was dictated entirely by his mother's rigid taste. There was no room for warmth or comfort in their space. A tussle-haired boy, around 8 years old, dashed out to greet Dina, Sarah's son, Michael. Sorry for the mess. We were just decorating the Christmas tree, Sarah explained. Say hello to Dina, my colleague who will be visiting us. The boy gave Dina a shy greeting before darting back to the tree. What a sweet child, Dina thought to herself. Slowly, Dina adjusted to the cozy ambience of Sarah's apartment, settling into the spare guest room. Each morning, she helped Sarah prepare breakfast for little Michael and accompanied him to school alongside his mother. At first, Michael was shy and kept his distance from the newcomer, but over time, his curiosity won out. In the evenings, he began popping into Dina's room to play board games or simply chat. One day, with a hint of sadness in his voice, he confided in Dina that he missed his mother and longed for a brother or sister, someone to play and laugh with while his mom was at work. I try to come home earlier to spend more time with him, but he still feels lonely, Sarah sighed. Dina felt a surge of compassion for the abandoned, insecure child. That evening, she joined him as he sat alone in the living room, engrossed in cartoons. Michael, I can see you look sad and bored by yourself. Would you like me to be your friend? We can do our homework together, go for walks, and play games. I can be around when Mom is at work. What do you think? Michael's eyes lit up with joy. And how is your older sister? He asked excitedly. I've never had a sister, or better yet, can you be like Aunt Dina? You're so beautiful and kind. From that day on, they became inseparable. Dina took Michael to parks and museums, where they skated and sledded down hills and visited his classmates. Each evening, he would rush to her room to read books or play educational games. Before she realized it, Dina had formed a deep bond with this child. Seeing Michael's happy eyes filled her heart with warmth and joy. In this shared companionship, Dina found a true friend in young Michael, while he discovered a caring aunt who stepped in to fill the absence of both a father and an older sibling. They became genuinely close, nurturing a friendship that brought warmth to both their souls.